We are just about 3 weeks away from the August 3rd trade deadline, and we are getting pretty close to seeing some lines drawn in the sand and teams making decisions on whether they are going to be buyers or sellers. The third wildcard spot has made it so that no team is truly ever really out of contention, and mediocrity is rewarded more than ever. So the consensus is that we are going to be in for another seller's market this year in 2026. But there are a few teams that have been bad enough to warrant the traditional sell everything that's not bolted down method. And of course, there have been a bunch of teams that have been good enough to warrant giving up some pretty valuable prospects to increase their chances of winning the World Series when it's all said and done. So let's break down a few of the teams that I think are most interesting at the trade deadline and see what they should be doing, when it comes to buying and selling. There is not really much debate on what the New York Mets should be doing. At 17 games under 500, they're going to be selling. I'm really not sure how an offense with Francisco Lindor, Bo Bichette, and Juan Soto is a bottom three offense by OPS in baseball. That's horrendous. Freddie Peralta, he's almost certainly going to be traded. He's a free agent after 2026, as well as Clay Holmes, who has a player option. Both of those guys have a lot of upside as starting pitchers, and I think we'll have new homes when we talk on August 4th. AJ Minter has had a really nice year when he's been healthy. He'll be one of the more exciting relievers on the market. I'm curious if anybody still believes in Luis Robert Jr. He's one of the rare right-handed hitters that is going to be on the market. I wonder if the Mets could trade him. They might be able to get back something kind of special if there is any belief in what he can do still in 2026. I'm not sure there really is a lot of that. Also wondering if the Mets can get off Sean Manaea. Controllable starting pitching, always kind of something that teams can be interested in. But with Juan Soto locked up basically forever, probably not going to see them move a lot of pieces with much control beyond 2026. Like, I doubt we're seeing a Bo Bichette trade, especially with that big deal. He's likely to pick up that player option. So, man, I don't know. The Mets are in a tough spot. Mets fans, I'm sorry. Now, the Twins are kind of the opposite from the Mets because there is a lot of debate whether they should be buying or selling. I think this team is probably ahead of schedule at 48 and 49, tied for the final wildcard spot in the American League. Their playoff odds sit at 34%, which is higher than you'd expect them to be coming into the season at least. Byron Buxton says he's in for the long run, and trust me, he's an easy guy to build around. But to be honest with you, I think it'd be really bad business letting pending free agents like Joe Ryan and Ryan Jeffers go for nothing after this season, especially for a team that's probably outperforming its true talent at, like, I'm looking at a minus 16 run differential. They're taking advantage of an extremely weak American League. Like, imagine what's going to happen when we see this Twins team kind of go up against a New York Yankees in a wild card round or something along those lines. I'm sorry, I just don't think that this team is ready to have what it takes to get through the American League and make a real run at it in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Twins try and add big league ready talent, but I really don't trust them to retain their guys in free agency after this season. And because of that, I would kind of like to see them trade away Joe Ryan. I also think it would be fun to see him on a new team, just to be honest with you. The Boston Red Sox came into this year as a dark horse to win a very tough division in the American League East, but they were 10 games under 500 on June 30th. It seemed like they were going to be locks to sell, but a 9-game winning streak heading into the All-Star break has their run differential back up to plus 27. Their playoff odds are above 40% after being 8% on June 21st. Like, man, they could cash in on Aroldis Chapman, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, or they could finally flip Jarren Duran. But they have guys out like Roman Anthony, Trevor Story, Ranger Suarez, Garrett Crochet, who are all hopeful to return at some point soon. And man, the Red Sox could easily take advantage of a wide open American League wildcard race. I think they are going to wait as long as they can before committing to either buying or selling. We have 3 weeks until the deadline, and I would not be surprised to see them use all of those 3 weeks. They're in a tough spot. I think how they play over the next few weeks is going to really determine what they end up doing at this deadline. It'll be a much easier decision for the San Francisco Giants. At 15 games under 500, they have a minus 66 run differential. They are going to be sellers. The only question is just how far they will take it. They're not one of those orgs that we ever really see tear it down, but maybe this is the year they finally decide to do it. Luis Arias and Robbie Ray are expiring and will definitely be traded. But do they want to get off of a Matt Chapman? He is signed through 2031 and owed a lot of money, so it might be difficult. Same deal with Rafael Devers. Could they try and move him after just acquiring him last year? Buster Posey, the GM, has talked a lot about needing to be open to trade ideas. and it's not really a question of if they sell, but just how much. I think we're all pretty confident that the Seattle Mariners are actually a good team, even though their record says they're a game under 500. They did lose 5 of 6 going into the All-Star break, so it came at a good time for them. But coming off of last year, just bigger picture, Game 7 of the American League Championship Series, they were expected to repeat that type of performance this season, if not take a step forward and finally make it to that first World Series in franchise history. It's been a tough year, but they are the only team in the American League West with a positive run differential, and they are going to be adding. Just the question is what? They have scored the fourth least runs in baseball this season, which is kind of a surprising number if you ask me. I'm going to look at them to add a bat or two, similar to last year when they traded for Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor at the deadline. They did the same deal with Randy Arozarena in 2024. They could look to go with a little buyer for buyer classic baseball trade, trading one of their 6 starters. The reports have been that Luis Castillo would probably be the odd man out in that situation. The record does not look great right now, but adding a bat or two will prime them to turn it on in the second half, and I think they're destined for another deep playoff run this year in 2026. The San Diego Padres have the worst offense in baseball by runs scored. They're 27th in starters ERA. Their playoff odds are down to about 12%, but AJ Preller is their general manager. They do have the worst farm system in baseball according to MLB.com's preseason rankings, and it's hard to imagine the Padres giving up on a real season, but maybe the smart move would be to trade some guys, probably not Mason Miller, from that top 10 bullpen and try again in 2027. Did you know that the Miami Marlins have a top 10 offense by weighted runs created plus and a top 10 pitching staff by ERA? I actually think they might have slipped a little bit in between when I made these notes and when this video got posted. So take that for a grain of salt, but they've been really good this season. The point still stands. Otto Lopez has been the best shortstop in the National League this season. Max Meyer has a 2.58 ERA in over 100 innings pitched. They're already in a playoff spot. With the 5th youngest roster in baseball. They have the 11th ranked farm system according to MLB.com's preseason rankings. It looks like they're going to be really good for a long time. I would love to see them try and round out this roster with at least a couple supplemental moves. Add a 4th or 5th starter. Luis Castillo, as I just mentioned, maybe he would look pretty good on this roster. They could add a back-end bullpen guy. I think the Marlins, maybe this isn't their year, but this could be like one of their seasons where they really lead into it. One of their seasons before we realized how good they were. And finally, I have the Detroit Tigers as sellers, mostly just because I want to see what they can get for Tarik Skubal. The Tigers are not going to fork over the cash on the 10-year, $400 million deal he's going to get this winter. They're 8 games below 500, 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. And aside from Skubal, they have a few really good pieces that they could cash in on. I'm looking at Gleyber Torres, Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize, Kenley Jansen. They are all expiring and at the very least have name value, and some of them could fetch a pretty decent return. If they think they're closer to the positive 24 run differential than that 44 and 52 record, by all means, go out and add, but be careful. Would be very risky letting this much of your core go to free agency without cashing in on it. I'm going to be doing these weekly for Diamond Centric heading up towards the deadline, so keep tuning in to hear about a new batch of teams and my thoughts on them.